Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapons series. Today we're talking stern drives versus outboards. You may also refer to stern drives as inboard outboards or IOs. They're the same thing, but there's three different ways people refer to them. Outboards are outboards. What are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about these areas, the pros and cons of each engine type, and at the end, we're going to have a little bit of a special offer, the Boat Buyer's Toolkit. So let's jump right in. So, outboards and stern drives. So you know which one is which. The top left picture is the stern drive. You have a majority of the engine block, well, the whole engine block inside the boat. That is typically going to be a Mercruiser or a Volvo engine. They are the two main manufacturers of the engines. Mercruiser, the last couple of years, have been building their own blocks internally. Previous to that, they were doing the same thing that Volvo is doing now. They were taking a GM engine block and marinizing it, getting it ready to run in the environment of a boat where you add the gear lube, you add the extra the freeze valves to winterize the boat, several other things, and then you have the drive off the back, which is the stern drive. That's where the inboard outboard comes in. Part of the motor is inboard, part of it is outboard, and you have that stern drive hanging off the back of the boat with the prop. It's below the waterline. It's typically tucked under a swim platform. In most cases these days, the last 20 years or so, the outboard. The outboard, you have the whole unit hanging off the back of the boat. The motor head, the foot, the prop is below the waterline. There's some big advantages to each and disadvantages to each, so it really depends on what your situation is, and we're going to talk about each one individually. So let's start with the outboard, the cons. It blocks the access to the water at the stern of the boat. You can see in the photo, a third of that back end is taken up by that motor hanging off the back versus having a full swim platform. In my opinion, that's one of the biggest cons of the outboards, and I love outboard power for a lot of reasons. They typically have less torque, and they can be stolen much easier. If you store your boat on the trailer, somebody can come up, cut the cables, unhook some bolts, and take that motor right off. It happens, it's common in Florida, it happens all over the country, but that is a con of an outboard motor. Now, the pros. These, in my opinion, are huge and why I love outboards for a lot of people in a lot of situations. First off, the maintenance is easier. You pop off the cowling and you have access to pretty much everything you need. They're more efficient in most cases. The newer engines, they've got very tight tolerances. The fuel economy, if you run it in a normal, within the right RPM ranges, they're very efficient. The newer models are very quiet. All of the brands, this isn't about Yamaha or Mercury or Evinrude or any of the Suzuki, any of the models that are out there. This is about outboards in general, and the newer ones, the last 5, 7 years, even 10 years, are almost, you can't even tell that they're running. They're so quiet. They're very reliable. The newer engines I'm talking have a reputation of being very, very reliable, rock solid. Once you get past that 20-hour break-in period, they are something that's going to be sticking with you and not have a lot of maintenance cost. The cheaper cost of ownership in most cases because of that reliability. There's no need to winterize the outboards in the typical sense. You tilt them down, you treat your fuel, and you make sure that there's no water in the hub of the prop, and you're ready to go. So if it's December in the middle of winter and you want to go out for a run, have at it, go run it. You can go year round. Just when you get back, make sure that motor's tilted all the way down so gravity drains all the water out, which is the biggest part of winterization. Make sure that your fuel is treated. Make sure that there's no water in that prop hub, and you're ready to go. If you're not going to run it every month or so, you may want to take advantage of fogging the engine if it's that type. But typically, the winterization process is eliminated and much easier in most cases. It has a better power to weight ratio. On these newer outboards, they've really getting a lot of power out of a smaller power head, and they've lightened them up a lot compared to those big GM blocks and now the Mercruiser blocks that they're putting in the stern drives. It does free up cockpit space because you're taking that engine out of the boat, the inboard portion of the inboard outboard, and you're putting that power head on top. It does give you more cockpit space, which on center consoles, on pontoons, is a great benefit. They typically give you smaller wakes because you reduce the weight. You're not putting as much weight on that boat. It's not displacing as much water, and it gives you smaller wakes. So if you've got kids that are doing water sports and they're not super adventurous, those outboards give you a flatter wake, and it can be less intimidating. And then you can get a shallower draft in most cases, partly because that engine tilts all the way up out of the water, which is another benefit I should have put on there. But that engine can tilt all the way out of the water. So if you're leaving your boat in the water, you can get virtually the entire thing out, maybe a little bit of the skeg, depending on where the limiter is set. But that's great for people that leave their boat in the water. It's a great option for those in saltwater, for fishing boats and pontoons. The saltwater, because that water drains all the way out, you have gravity getting rid of that salt water. You run the earmuffs on it with some fresh water, that drains out, and it keeps it in great shape versus the water pulling up and into that inboard outboard. It's more difficult to get that salt water flushed out, and there's a little bit more maintenance involved there. Fishing boats, you can see everything. If you ever get your fishing line caught in, you just tilt that motor up and you can get access to it very easily because everything comes out of the water. And pontoons, they're a great power source for a pontoon because they're typically left in the water. You can run them year round if you live on the water, and it's a great option. You'll find them there often. Now, the stern drives. Well, the cons, we're almost going to be doing an opposite here. They're more expensive cost of ownership. They're more expensive to maintain typically over the full season. You cannot trim them fully out of the water because that drive is fully submersed. You can only tilt it up part way, and virtually the entire lower unit's going to be in the water. So if you're storing your boat in the water, you don't get that reprieve. You may get barnacles growing on it. You'll certainly get some corrosion in most water types. You have to change out your zincs or anodes depending on the type of water you're in. That leads to the more expensive cost of ownership. And they're tougher and more expensive to maintain in salt water. Again, because you're sucking that water up and into the boat, gravity doesn't do its effect as it does in that outboard where gravity just pulls it right out. You've actually got to flush it, and it's much more difficult. There can be more expense in the long run as well, because some of that corrosion and the rust may start forming, having to do risers and some more extensive repairs after 5 to 7 years or so, depending on how well it's maintained. Now, the pros: easy access to the water. In my opinion, I grew up on stern drives. It's having that full access to the swim platform that makes the stern drive my favorite in freshwater in a lot of situation on a bow rider, a deck boat setup. It's great access to the water. The kids are going to be jumping off the back of the boat. And to me, that's a huge one for family boaters that are going to be pulling up to the sandbar, doing some water sports and just pleasure boating. It allows that full beam of the swim platform. It also allows you that sun pad option, which is something that I really love. It gives you that big flat area that covers up the engine compartment in most cases, gives you some storage on each side of it, and you've got a little sun pad area. It does give you more torque in most cases, because of the configuration of the power head and the gear ratios. It's going to have more torque. The motor's tucked away. So if the kids are swimming off the back, it's typically going to be tucked up under the swim platform, and that can be a big benefit. In my opinion, the aesthetics are better. Again, because that drive is tucked down under the swim platform. You've got full access to the water. The lines of the boat look sharper because you don't have that big outboard hanging off the back. Although now with the colored painted cowlings and the units, they're matching the colors of the boats really nice, and they're looking better and better on the outboard side. And in my opinion, they give you better handling in very rough water with that deeper draft. You get more grab of that prop in the water. You don't have the cavitation if you're hitting some big chop. Again, like I said, a great option on freshwater boats, bow riders, and deck boats. I absolutely do not like stern drives and pontoons. It's something that I would avoid. If you watch a pontoon video, how to buy the right pontoon, I'll talk more in detail about that. But you can go onto our channel or to our website and find that video. You can even find it down in the show notes where you can find links to other videos, other resources that you may find very valuable. Now, if you found this video helpful, I would love for you to leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you got a question, there's something that it didn't explain very well, something that you've been considering for your situation, I would be happy to answer the questions in the comments down below. I will also at times create a video for people when they ask a question. I'll create a specific video and share that as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't so you get all of our updates. We're always creating new content based on what people are asking, and we would love to do the same for you. I mentioned a free gift. We've got the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon toolkit. This is a toolkit that's going to help you buy the right boat at the best price, learn how to demo a boat the right way, questions to ask a dealer or private seller, how to maximize your trade, how to get the best boat loan, how to get the best insurance, and much, much more. It's a free resource because we want to make sure that you buy the right boat at the right price. So you can get that free. It's sent to you in a PDF right to your email, and you're good to go. If you want to subscribe, go ahead and click that subscribe button now. There's a few extra videos for you that YouTube is recommending that you would enjoy. Click on those, take a look, and thank you for watching this video.